Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio. Today we are talking about Avatar 2, and more specifically, I want to focus on the idea of the law of diminishing returns, and mostly because I came across this article from Game Rant here a few days ago that's titled Avatar: The Way of Water projected to earn less than its predecessor at the domestic box office. Avatar: The Way of Water is predicted to dominate the domestic box office, but not enough to surpass its record-breaking predecessor. And instead of wasting a bunch of time, let's just get right into the meat and potatoes here. According to a predictive financial forecast published by Variety, the camera-directed film is expected to earn roughly $650 million at the domestic box office, which would be an outstanding performance for the film and by far one of the best of the theatrical year. The number, however, would fall incredibly short of Cameron's 2009 original Avatar, which accumulated $772 million. The report pointed to the 13-year gap between the releases as a factor that may affect the sequel's success, along with the utilization of 3D, which lacks the same fascinating effect it generated years ago. At least this article is admitting that the original Avatar was built on nothing but a gimmick. Blah 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 blah. The estimated box office output would also place the sequel behind Paramount's Top Gun: Maverick, which is currently the year's top performing film at the domestic box office. The Tom Cruise-led film has generated over $700 million since its May release, and recently passed Marvel Studios' Avengers: Infinity War and Black Panther to become the fifth highest-grossing film of all time domestically. Cameron's 2009 Avatar is currently the fourth on the list, but globally the film's nearly $3 billion performance is the best of all time. The sequel carries hefty expectations and will look to match the output of its predecessor, but an early forecast sees the film falling short of its aspirations. Avatar: The Way of Water will usher in the return of Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana as Jake Sully and Neytiri. The film will center around the two emblematic characters in their fight to protect their home and newly established family from an ancient resurfacing threat. Unfortunately, the limited Avatar: The Way of Water footage has not revealed much about the story, but the visual spectacle nonetheless looks incredibly captivating. It will be interesting to see where the sequel finds itself on the box office standings once the year concludes, and if it can outmatch the star power that elevated Top Gun: Maverick to record-breaking heights. And side tangent here, Avatar: The Way of Water, when is that set to come out? Is that the end? I believe it's at the end of the year. No, The Way of Water. I'm an idiot. I'm trying to type in something that I know you guys can't see my screen, but let me look this up real quick. Blah 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 blah. What is it? December 16th, 2022. We are this close to Avatar being released. We're within 2 months, and we still have absolutely no idea what the story even is beyond a couple of teaser trailers. That does raise a huge red flag for me. Another article even points out that the re-release of Avatar proves that its box office success was never a fluke. This coming from Screen Rant, published on September 26th of 2022. And let me see if I can just try to find the numbers here. I had them and then I lost them. Here we go. Okay, including other re-releases in 2010 and 2020, Avatar has made over $134 million globally from re-releases alone, nowhere near what it made during its initial box office run. But again, Avatar made its money solely on the 3D capabilities. I don't think anyone is denying that. But I said in the beginning that we're going to be discussing the law of diminishing returns when it comes to Avatar 2. Now, for those that don't know, which some of you may not even know you've probably heard of the law of diminishing returns, but have no idea what it is. The law of diminishing returns comes from the world of economics, and it reads as follows, coming from Wall Street Mojo. The law of diminishing returns states that an additional amount of a single factor of production will result in a decreasing marginal output. Will result in a decreasing marginal output of production. The law assumes other factors to be constant. It means that if X produces Y, there will be a point when adding more quantities of X will not help in a marginal increase in quantities of Y. So let's break this down into plain English. Let's apply this to YouTube channels. Just because you produce 5 YouTube videos a day does not mean that you are going to grow 5 times faster. If we're going to the law of diminishing returns, the more videos you make could actually be hurting you and not helping you. right, is that at some point you're gonna hit a peak. You know, let's say, you know, one video really takes off, then you make another, and then another, and then another. Well, by about video 4 or 5 on that day, you're gonna see more and more people dropping off, because who the fuck can keep up with, you know, watching 5 videos a day just from one channel? And that's just a YouTube example. You can even apply this to the world of movies. Right, most of your favorite franchises do have a law of diminishing returns kick in, and I'm going to use Star Wars as the example, but you'll understand in a minute why I'm using Star Wars as the example. If we look at the original trilogy, you know, Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, you know, if we look, we're going to look at the global box office for each of these movies just for the sake of argument. We look at the original Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope, grossed $775,398,007 worldwide. Now, we fast forward to The Empire Strikes Back, the film immediately following the original. Made only $549,001,242 at the worldwide box office. So Empire Strikes Back made less than A New Hope, than A New Hope, and then guess what? Return of the Jedi made less money than The Empire Strikes Back, coming in with a box office total of $475,106,177 worldwide. So you can see the longer that Star Wars went on, the more and more people dropped off. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because Star Wars is obviously still around today. But the reason I'm using Star Wars as the example is because Star Wars is also the exception to the rule. There's always an exception to the rule. Let's look at the prequel trilogy. The Phantom Menace releases. $1,027,044,677 were made at the global box office. Fast forward to Attack of the Clones, only $656,695,615 were made at the global box office. But here is where the Star Wars prequels become the exception to the rule. Revenge of the Sith made $848,998,877 at the global box office. So Revenge of the Sith made more money than Attack of the Clones. You cannot decry law of diminishing returns, because even though Revenge of the Sith did not make more money than The Phantom Menace, it made more money than Attack of the Clones, which Attack of the Clones was the drop-off in box office between movies. So is Avatar the Way of Water going to see a drop-off in the box office? If I have to predict right now, I would say yes, but it's one of those things too, we never know, because there's always an exception to the rule. But honestly, ask yourselves the question with Avatar: The Way of Water, what does this movie have going for it? Like we brought up earlier, the original movie had the burgeoning 3D technology, and that is what sold Avatar. In fact, people forget that Avatar was being used to sell 3D TVs even back in like 2011, 2012, that if you bought like I think it was a Panasonic 3D TV. I don't remember. If I can find the commercial that I'm thinking about, I'm going to splice it in right here. If I couldn't find the commercial, you guys are still going to hear me talk.
The contrast of infinite black. The clarity of fast-switching phosphors. The smoothness of 600 hertz. All come together to create what CNET calls the best picture quality of any 2010 TV. The Viera Full HD 3D TV from Panasonic. Ask retailers about a bonus Avatar Blu-ray 3D disc when you buy a Viera 3D TV.
But again, guys, ask yourselves the question, what does Avatar: The Way of Water have going for it that the original didn't? Okay, it's coming out 13 years after the original, after everyone has been saying that Avatar was basically just Dances with Wolves in space. And don't just take my word for it, even James Cameron himself came out and said Avatar was basically Dances with Wolves in space. So again, posing the question, will Avatar: The Way of Water suffer from the law of diminishing returns? My answer is yes, if I have to predict it right here, right now. But will it be an exception to the rule? Will Avatar: The Way of Water be Terminator 2 Judgment Day, in the sense that it makes more money than the original Avatar did? Probably not, but but again, I'm not trying to be a naysayer. And guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video right here before I drag this out way longer than it needs to be. I probably already have done that. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following long enough, you know I'm terrible at ending these videos, so I will just see you guys next time.